Good morning and welcome to the CADclass podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
You know the drill.
And
Good to
we're
be
back.
here. Welcome back, me, I suppose. Yeah, welcome back, us. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome crew.
Welcome back,
We're
everyone.
sorry. Yeah, welcome back. We're sorry we had to miss last week. I had intended at the Autodesk AU conference in San Diego. Jake and I met up the night before. We had a lovely evening and
At a
got
whiskey
inspired at a whiskey bar. It was fantastic. And in that state, I thought, I can do, no problem. I'll do the podcast tomorrow. This is no big deal.
Yeah.
And then I woke up. And then
Yeah.
you woke up. And Jake.
No. The conference ended at 10, and then because
who's got an audio echo?
Oh.
Ruh-roh. Or maybe, do we have an audio echo?
Ooh.
Is that just Ken?
No
echo here. Ken, you might have us
Ken,
up on
this is all you.
You might have us up on 2 screens. By the way, I did have an audio issue last week. So in the chat, let me know if my audio sounds superb or terrible.
or less.
Or terrible. I don't think
I always have the bad luck with the audio, so it's
you
so
really
nice
do.
to have Josh be the one that's screwing up.
Good morning. Okay, so good morning really quickly here. So good morning, Joe Street, printed by John, Ty, Ogre, Connie, Josiah, Ken, Derry, Dan. Oh man, it just makes me happy. Good morning, everybody. Even as we grow, we're going a little quicker over a long period of time. I go on our Discord and I'm just so stoked that you guys rock. You're amazing. Yeah. It's good to be there. I can't believe we have almost 1,300 people. And somehow, Jake, 1,300 people are getting along.
I know.
We're getting along. This is cool.
I know. I actually did see a Reddit post this morning on the our Fusion 360 subreddit. And it's just people post maybe a couple times a week, just like, hey, where's the best place that I can learn? And people post out, really fantastic sources, stuff that we've learned through that we really dig. And oftentimes people post, they go, oh yeah, CADclass needs to go. Oh, well, that's really, really nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And but this on the post this morning, they were like, oh yeah, the Discord is really, really friendly, really good vibes. That's really nice.
What a win. A win. Thank you all for, that's you guys. Community. Yeah, that's you guys. Yeah. So just thank you. Keep it up. It's amazing. I love seeing it. It's now so busy that if I don't turn it off, I get distracted constantly. And you and I get nothing done. And so we have this funny thing where I'm like, we have a deadline. We have a lot of stuff to do. But Jake, we have an announcement we'd like to, speaking of Discord, we have an announcement we would like to make.
Yeah.
Which we already made in the Discord, but we, of course, would like to shout it out on here too. We have a new graduate. We have a new graduate. Congratulations. Big shout out to Rehitz. I don't know if I said that right. Apologies if I didn't. But a huge shout out to Rehitz. He jammed through our curriculum.
Yeah, he really did.
I was watching and it was just like
we were helping him out. I remember like with the Lego brick or the legally distinct not a Lego brick. And then just boom, 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 boom over the last week, just super, super impressive. Asking questions here and there, posting
and then solving them himself, as is the case. How many times on our Discord, by the way, do people ask a question and about 20 minutes to a day later, they're like, "Oh, I figured it out. I solved it. I got it." Yes,
I love that. That is a really big sign that you have actually learned something very innately, and that's really fantastic. Side note, if you do solve something, post the solution, please. People are just going to go through and go, oh, I had that same problem.
What was the answer?
What was it? Yeah.
Yes, Derry, I did in fact get some new glasses. I did. That did happen.
Very annoyed because I need new glasses as well, but I'm currently in the middle of an incredibly long filming shoot for refilming all of our new CAD series. And so I can't change my glasses. I can't change my set because of continuity reasons. I do have a new printer that we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't seen it. And I've been playing around with it for the last 2 days while trying to actually work, which hasn't gone very well. But yeah, dude, congratulations. Every single time we get a new graduate, it feels so good. And if you do graduate, you get access to the private graduates room, which is always
That's right.
Um,
And I feel like that will matter more and more as, like, I'm definitely gonna share early information about stuff. We'll ask for beta testers to who want,
mhm,
early access to stuff. There's some perks there. There's some
yeah,
benefits. But,
yeah, that's
uh,
always good.
Printed by John says, "I love my P1S." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
We'll talk about
it's
that in a bit.
calibration. Yeah,
Jake is giddy to talk about that. If I let
I
him, I think he
am.
would just talk about that the whole time.
I know.
So,
I'm really gonna try and limit myself. One thing I just want to pop back on. So at the Autodesk University event, which was gigantic, took over all of San Diego essentially. I was walking through the middle of it, and it was just hordes and hordes of nerds and businessmen nerds, all wearing lanyards. And I was just walking through, going to this after party, not wearing a lanyard. I was like, I feel so left out. I feel so left out. And he was meeting up with some of the other official Learning Desk partners or Autodesk Learning partners. There we go. At a whiskey bar, and they had a Guinness World Record on their wall, and they have the most whiskey bottles in the world in one location. They have got like long sweeping hallways, and it's just absolutely filled in these glowing glass cabinets with, I'm sure, probably close to 100,000, if not a million, whiskey bottles. And it was
so
super
many.
awesome.
It
And
was awesome.
at the bar having a delicious beverage, I was like, it's been on my bucket list to break a world record. I want to do that in my life at some point. Whether it's related to what we're doing here, I don't know, but I want to do that at some point in my life. So if you guys have any ideas, like some of them that I've had like pottering around in my head for a while, which are a little boring but doable, like making the world's tallest 3D printer. I'm like, that would just be relatively simple, I think, but who knows?
Famous
But
last words.
I know, but I did have an idea over the weekend. I was at my fiance's family, and they were just having football on. You know those stadiums where they have the cameras and it's attached to 4 separate wires, and they can move the cameras really quickly. Well, I
Mhm.
just put a nozzle on there, and we'll just 3D, and we'll just have the 3D
Turn
printer be the size of a
turn a
stadium.
football field into a 3D printer. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
I think
funny.
that'd be kind of fun. The
Yeah,
resolution is going to be non-existent,
that's
but
very
I'm like,
funny.
I don't know if we made a benchy like a 5 kilogram spool. That's not too far off the weight of like a proper camera, and we have like
That's
a
a
benchy
very
that
funny
big. That'd
idea.
be amazing.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I would love to get a little bit deeper into the research of machines. Like, I think the robotic
Mhm.
arm that has the 3D print head on it is fascinating because they're
Yeah.
doing the rocket bodies with it, but,
Mhm.
time or something like that. Jake, quickly at the top of the show. So, everybody, we have been loving the challenge coming in.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, this week, we haven't yet figured out what that challenge is. So, our challenge to you currently, if you're in the chat, if you're listening to us on the pod live, is can you find an appropriate or a fun challenge for this week's challenge? And I will say, um, last week's was too hard, or 2 weeks ago, that challenge was a
Mm.
little bit too
The lamp.
intense.
That was insane.
Yeah, I think Ken, I think, was
But
on who's in here
but
now.
the people that did do it and
It's
posted it, I think there was
spectacular.
3 or 4 people. Oh my god, you
Well,
guys
let's show
made
them off. Let's show them off while we're
incredible,
talking about
incredible
this. So
models.
so please, if you're in the chat, so Dan liked the lamp. We had a couple of you that finished the lamp that liked the lamp. I
Mhm.
just think it was a little too much for everyday
Yeah.
consumption.
Yes. But it was amazing. I believe it was in challenges.
Yeah.
Um, Grandpa Makes that actually went really, really intense into all the
So
springs.
crazy.
It's really, really actually, good lord.
Uh-huh.
Just intense. And it's that there is this really, really fun world within CAD, especially in the rendering, where if you can make a product well enough and if you get really good at rendering, which is a skill that I don't have. I know all the methodologies, but I don't have enough artistry or like camera or photo technical information to actually make it perfect. But I have seen renderings made inside of Fusion, not inside of some specialty website, that I couldn't distinguish from a real photo, like a product shot. I think there's a quite famous one where they have an F1 steering wheel that's got like a million buttons on it and a million switches, and it was just kind of this top down. It was on a red surface, and it was absolutely immaculate. It was perfect. And if someone had told me, yeah, this is a picture, I wouldn't have thought twice. And so the idea of people making all these products and then rendering it and being able to sell it before they've necessarily manufactured it, it is completely doable. And you guys that have just blown us out of the park with this, it's just amazing.
So that's
Um,
that was Grandpa Makes, or
Grandpa makes
Ken, I
amazing.
think is his name.
Yes.
Good job,
And
Ken.
then Connie, I think she did an animation, which is so Connie.
Of course, Connie did
Of
an
course,
animation.
what a show off, Connie. How dare you?
I had such good speaking of AU and these amazing designs, I was talking with the folks at Autodesk,
Mhm,
and Connie, I hope I didn't embarrass you here, but I definitely mentioned you starting from scratch here 7, 8 months ago, maybe 9
mhm.
months ago now, going through our curriculum and then just absolutely blowing us away with your
Yes.
impressive design skills. So we've been chatting about you. We're inspired by what you do, so
Mhm.
keep it up.
Some sincerely high up Autodesk CEOs and heads of education definitely know about you.
Yeah.
And they're also
I
very
was like, "Look,
impressed as well.
look, 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 look how cool this is. Look at this," like, right? So it was amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
fantastic.
Incredible work. And then we
Simply
had,
fantastic.
I think we had ZDP up there as well, was it?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
oh, Connie. Oh, good lord. This is what I mean with the rendering. Like, obviously, this is a blank void, so it doesn't have that realistic integrity. But as soon as you pop it into, I think one of the last photos is, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. Like
Con
that.
Connie said this. I think this is not she's not the first one. She says, "It was really intense. I had to find a stop, otherwise I would modify it until now."
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
think Ken said something similar. He's like, "I need to stop this task."
Yeah. Yeah. It's never ending the amount of detail that you can put into it.
Yeah.
But guys, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And then
Um,
ZDP.
ZDP doing it in
It's
Tinkercad.
just
Mental.
continues to blow my mind with
Absolutely
what's
crazy.
possible with Tinkercad. Just unreal.
And then I think that was the last one. But yeah,
I th
absolutely
Yeah.
incredible, guys.
So
But we did have a bunch of people post some really, really rad projects, so I just wanted to flick through them really quick. I made a thing, printed by John, who I think is on here now, actually made a tourbillon. But I think I've been pronouncing it wrong. Is it? I thought it
I
was
don't know.
tourbillon.
I
I'm
don't
fairly
know.
sure it's tourbillon
I
now.
don't know.
I've
I
now
don't know.
seen it written different ways twice, but this is amazing. If you guys have never noticed it, this thing in the in the background, this gigantic tourbillon, we have in one of the collages on one of our students' pages in our book. So absolutely incredible. And also made an
Tourbillon.
ab roller
Tourbillon. So Dan says tourbillon.
tourbillon.
I think I said that
Oh, it's
right.
French, of course it is. Yeah.
It's
And
oh,
an ab
oh.
roller. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
This
I don't know
reminds me
if I
when
would I wouldn't know if I would trust that to support my weight. Just smash your face.
I
Uh,
when we were at open source, we were at the oh god, the Candy Lab booth.
oh, it's tourbillon. Is that what it is? Tourbillon? I think that's how
Oh
you say
no,
it. Sorry. All right. Sorry, I just got stuck on loop here. As you were, Jake. Don't
we're at
mind
the
me.
Candy, we're at the Candy Lab booth, and and they were selling their own custom filament, and they made some dumbbells with like like 4 kilogram spools. Just people just doing that the entire time. I was like, that's that's not a bad idea. And they 3D printed the handle and the screws on the side. I'm like, that's perfect, guys. That's amazing. I love that. And then Derry designing a new bit to our drone, designed a canopy and battery mounts for it out of TPU, which is actually really, really, really clever because of course TPU
Mhm.
is stretchy, so you can pop the battery in and out of there really, really quickly. But he also made the camera mount for it out of TPU, I think. It looks like the same material, which is a really, really lovely design. But it's really organic, and because the actual well seam of the 3D print is kind of in the way on the edge, I can't see a ton of detail on it. So, Derek, this looks really complicated, but really, really interesting. Because I'm sure there's a bunch of funky geometries built into it. The camera. Please post a file or at least a screenshot of the CAD, because
Uh,
it's really fantastic.
2 things really quickly. So I saw somebody ask, PC Van Vliet said, "Am I still practicing my drone flying skills?" So now that we're
Oh.
talking about a drone, I am. I am still practicing my skills. I am progressing. I am still very bad. Very, very bad. I have not yet flown the real drone because I am certain I will smash it into something and ruin it instantly. So, yes, I
Put it
am
in the
still in
fields,
drone
yeah.
school. And Jake,
Yeah.
I actually did realize I came up with a challenge that's perfect
Okay.
and it brings together something that people haven't done yet in our
Ooh.
curriculum. So there's going to
Okay.
involve some experimentation, and
All
it's
right.
something that Truman, one of our former colleagues, has made in the past.
Oh, I think I know what you're gonna
Do you
say.
know what it is?
You want us to use the form tool to make a little spooky ghost.
I want you to use the form tool to make a little
Okay.
spooky ghost. So I will try to find some photos as we're on the pod here.
Mhm.
We haven't played around with the form tool, so this is going to
No.
be new for a lot of you. So I
Maybe
want a
you do
spooky.
that while I nerd out about the bamboo.
That's right. That's right. So I want a
Um,
spooky ghost. Let's finish up though with the Discord
yes.
first, and then I'll find some ghosts.
This is
I just
is
oh
it Quad
my
Daddy? I don't know.
yeah, I
Um,
think it's Quad Daddy.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
so freaking cool.
Such
Look at
a
that.
rad little RC model.
Look at
That
that.
is so adorable. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Um, and then Connie making a little 3D printed frame that all snaps together. Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Parametric 3D printed frame
Parametrically designed. Yeah.
for Hue Forge prints is super freaking cool.
God, that is so rad. And then I think I saw someone in the comments say, "Oh, I didn't even realize that it was 3D printed." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think ZDP said just because if you look at just the thumbnail, it's actually rather hard to tell that it's 3D
Mhm.
printed at all, which is just amazing. I love that stuff. Um, TD Cinder, I'm not sure if I've seen them post it.
What did you just what did you say there?
Oh, TD Snyder. Whoops.
TD, Ty.
Oh, is it Ty?
It's
I'm a little
I
bit
was like, TD
dyslexic.
I was like, "Oh, me too, a little bit,
A
actually." That's
little bit.
same, same. I will write the second letter of a word before the first letter of a word,
Yeah,
like, more often than I think is
is allowed.
usual. Yeah. So Ty, shout out Ty. He was here this morning. I don't know if he's still here, but, yeah, Ty was a part of our I believe it's the same Ty, part of our Roseville program here in Sacramento. So,
That's pretty sweet.
love to see it, Ty,
Yeah, making an infinity
in 24
mirror.
hours.
Yeah, I've been meaning to make one of those for so long, but the material on top, it's like a film, but it's a 2D two-way mirror, which is the same thing as a one-way mirror, which is unacceptable. How dare they? But yeah, I've been wanting to make one of those for a while. Uh, ZDP making a little soda can holder. Love that. You guys have just made so much stuff.
It's
Good lord.
amazing, it's
Literally
amazing.
can't go through it. And then I made something over the weekend. I'm gonna flick back to us view. Um, I was asked by my father-in-law. He has a heart condition and has to take nitroglycerin pills, which come in a comically tiny bottle. So Josh actually had a little bit of experience with this. He is a pharmacochemist, I think is the proper term. He knows everything about chemistry and everything about
No, no, he
medicine.
doesn't. He used to. I have the forgetting curve. We know the
Incorrect.
curve of forgetting. I've forgotten all of it. I've forgotten all of it.
I I don't believe that.
It's
I don't
gone.
believe that.
It's gone.
And
Don't listen to
the,
Jake.
the
He's making
so
stuff up.
these nitroglycerin pills, which is supposed to be, oh my gosh, I have a heart condition. My heart feels very, very scary right now. I need to take one of these pills. The pill is about the size of a sesame seed. It's unreal how tiny it is. And so there's like 100 of them, but in a tiny bottle. I don't even have anything small enough to compare. It's literally half the size of a Sharpie cap. That's how small it is. And because they don't want you to lose that, they put it in a normal prescription bottle. And so the idea is like, oh my gosh, I might be having a heart attack. I'm freaking out. So I have to open up this container, which has already got a security seal. Then take out an even smaller bottle and unscrew that, and then take out a single tiny, tiny sesame seed sized pill and take that. And I'm like, that would drive me, that would freak me out how unbelievably scary that is. And so he said, "Hey, can you 3D print me this kind of holder to make this tiny bottle much larger that I can just keep on me at all times?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do it." So my father-in-law is obsessed with Darth Vader. It's his favorite character. That's who his contact is on my phone. And and so I'm like, do you know what I'll do? He wanted something that he can dangle from his neck. I'm gonna make him the Darth Vader chest mount thing. And so I did a bunch of research and I made it over the weekend. I have like 100 screen grabs from the films and the original prop, which is bloody hard to get access to. And I fully designed it, incredibly accurate, 1-to-1 scale. And I was making all the parts, and it's not that difficult. The actual design is not very complicated at all. And I made it, printed it full 1-to-1 size, and it's a square, and it's 6 and 7/8 by 6 and 7/8. This thing is huge. It's about that big. And I didn't realize, it really didn't come to me. I'm like, oh, he's gonna have to hold on to this. And so I 3D printed the entire thing, and then my fiance saw it and she went, "Love, he's gonna like this is something that he wants to have like carry on him at all times. Like this is obscene how big this is." I'm like, damn, she's completely right. But I'd like been designing it for like 2 days. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna shrink it way down. I'm gonna have a mechanism that it holds onto the onto his little pill container. But I made that. It's a tiny version of the Darth Vader chest screw. And I'm like, that's much, much smaller. I mean, it's still way too thick. 'Cause it has to
Comically
have a little
huge.
bottle and a screw mechanism on it. But I'm like, this is something that he can chuck in his backpack and then it's still fine. It's got little hooks on it, but I'm like, that was actually a ton of fun. As soon as I have all the dimensions on it, this took maybe 20 minutes to design in entirety. It wasn't that bad. Maybe a couple hours to print it, but that was a fun little project.
I wonder if we should scale it down and use that as our business card holder as well. Just a little
That is,
cavity inside. That's
yeah,
kind of adorable. Although
yeah,
that, same problem. Where are we gonna keep it?
yeah, exactly.
That's amazing work, Jake. Good work.
I did want to show off a couple more things on the Discord really quick because you guys have been posting a lot of stuff in the meantime. It were something on challenges. Yep, did that. Lovely. There was a new drone. Where was that? Where do we have the drone? Good lord. Where the hell's our drone? There we go. Derry remade all the drone and rendering it lovely. But he's now remaking the design a little bit, which I'm just so excited for the next revision and the next edition to be even more badass. Can't wait for that. The pizza cutter, which I really wanted to show off. Somebody made a pizza cutter scooter, which is absolutely hilarious. And I now really badly want to make that in real life. Because that's hilarious.
I saw that pop in and I just could not stop laughing. It's
That's
just
great.
super freaking hilarious.
That is just so funny. And then Ed took it into a little AI software in Newark, and then it's a scooter.
I was looking at these. I want to talk about this for just a second. I was looking at these AI generated images, which are obviously ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
However, there was this big part of me that was like, this would just be a really fun class if you started with one project and you just generated a bunch of AI images and then you tried to build it in real life. I
Yeah.
was like, that just sounds fun.
Yeah, it
It's
really
like,
does.
look at the ridiculous handlebars on this thing. Like
I know.
it would force you to do so many absurd things.
The
I just
manufacturing would be
love it.
just
It would take
so weird.
forever. But look at
Yeah.
the pizza cutter handle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I absolutely adore that. But yeah, you guys did so many just amazing projects over the week. So impressed. All right, Josh, I want you to go ahead and try and find some form examples of ghosts just so I can nerd out for a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get some
Good.
images here. Yep.
So I think printed by John. I can't remember in the comments. I think he said that he got a new P1S, which I have also gotten. So Josh has been playing around here. He has had a Bamboo A1 Mini for 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
But and the AMS system, and I've been jealous, quietly jealous for a little while, and him just going, "Oh yeah, you can print stuff from your phone. It's so cool." And then our other business partner in the UK, Ed, he also has an A1 Mini, and it's in the background of his office. So every single time we have meetings with him throughout the week, constantly I'm looking at it, I'm seeing it. Jealous. I'm now a little. I've reverted to like a 12-year-old boy. Or like on Christmas Day, where you've got a better Christmas present than me. Like that's literally what it feels like. And I was kind of holding out because I'm like, they'll have a Black Friday deal coming up soon. And just before it was going on, I was just listening to a podcast of the CEO, just wanting to learn a little bit more about Bamboo. Oh my god, actually a really, really rad story. So I think it's fairly well known that all the guys or all the head engineers of Bamboo Labs used to work for DJI drones. But the CEO, which I'm completely forgetting his name, he is a PhD graduate of physics, and he specifically majored in aeronautics and applying turbulent systems not only to, well, fluid dynamics here on Earth, but also like striations of galaxies and like finding a connection between the two. I'm like, that's amazing. That's so cool. And throughout the entire thing, he's like, oh yeah, I came into DJI, and then all of us worked on all the aerodynamics of it, and then it was just fantastic. And then we all decided to go off, and we were just doing all this research onto what products we would want to make. I think they said they were doing research for months and months, if not a year, and trying to find an actual product to engineer, to develop. Because they were looking around, they go, well, we're all incredibly intelligent. We all have a lot of engineering background, we're all manufacturing. We are going to be prototyping. So we may as well get a 3D printer because, may as well. And while they had their 3D printer, they were then going off and trying to design other products. And then God knows who just said, well, why don't we just try and perfect a 3D printer? We'll try and fill it with as many engineering gubbins in there to try and make it as rad as possible. And I think they were saying that this was, I think 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, when Creality and essentially every single 3D printing company was doing the race to the bottom. Can we make this even cheaper, more accessible, but can we get this as low cost as we possibly can? Reduce parts, reduce material. Creality with the Ender 3 kind of, won it, I think. But there was, for a couple of years, there was just low quality 3D printers. Obviously low cost, like duh. But there was a real glut in the market, and they just kind of snapped onto it. And they said, well, let's try and throw in as many different cool tips and tricks and things into there. So, having a wobbly table is the worst thing in the world for a 3D printer. So let's try and put in vibration sensors so it actually goes through a calibration sequence to match the most perfect sequence, even if your table moves around a little bit. I'm like, that's genius. That's just software at that point, or like maybe a $1 sensor, and just absolutely so impressive. And
Wow. Printed by John says he's made over 4K from Maker World.
that's amazing.
Wow.
I was so I had come into this completely blind. So I picked up a P1S, which, by the way, is exactly the same thing as the P1P, just with the plastic enclosure. And then the much more expensive one, the X1 Carbon, is essentially the same thing as the P1P, but with aluminum walls. And it also has a slightly hotter hotbed and a better screen. It's fairly minor things that I don't really care about. And I'm like, cool, I can save $500. And I really had never gone into. Josh had said, oh, yeah, you can print from your phone. Cool. And I knew the quality was going to be beautiful. And I'd never done an AMS or a multiple material. And I'm like, this will just be a kind of new step into the door. I've always really loved desktop machines. This is kind of blurring the lines between maker and professional systems. And I just kind of dove head in. I was playing around with the bamboo slicer, which I believe is a clone or a rework of Prusa Slicer. But that's fine because Prusa is open source. So they took all the best stuff from Prusa Slicer. I think Prusa is much better than Cura nowadays.
Much
and
better.
now Bamboo is just, it works really, really well with all the simplicities, and you can print directly to it. There is no extra software, extra hustle you have to go through. There was unfortunately a bit of the downside of Prusa's MK4, and then the Maker World, which is I'd never gone on before. Really good energy, really cool stuff. It's just like Thingiverse or Printables. Really fantastic projects on there, and you can print directly to it. Lovely. The app, which doesn't look tremendously good, but the functionality is
Works
fantastic.
Well. Mm-hmm.
You just go. It's even easier to print something on my phone than it is to print from the slicer, which is kind of funny.
It is kind of
funny.
It's
all simplified, but yeah, it's really lovely. But the only thing that really kind of screwed me over is I couldn't feed in filament. I was like, am I the dumbest person in the room? I can't put in filament at all. But like there's a gray hole that's tapered inwards, and there's very obviously like a roller bearing on it that's the sensor, duh. And I was like looking up YouTube videos and like first print, Bamboo 101, first time opening, unboxing. Everybody skipped over the filament bits. And I'm like, asking ChatGPT, I'm like, what do I do? I was going on forums. Nobody did it. I feel like I'm genuinely the only person on the planet that came into this. It's just the spring for the roller bearing is really quite strong. So you just have to jam it in a little bit much harder than you think. That's it. For an hour, I was just stumped. I'm like, am I a moron? Yes, actually, yes. In real life, yes. I was just so yeah. Anyway, and I was FaceTiming Josh as I was printing out a Benchy, which I have, and this was a 22-minute Benchy, which was just manically fast. And obviously, this is the lowest quality, but that's a perfectly lovely Benchy. That horizontal line, I feel like not enough beginners know about this. That's supposed to be there. The hull line, that's a real part of the original CAD file. Everyone's like, oh, it's fine, except it's got that really annoying little mark on it all the way around. I'm like, yeah, that's supposed to be there. But the text on the back is ever so slightly readable. It's a perfect Benchy. It's a perfect layer or large layer thickness Benchy. It's perfect.
Dan did mention something which is, I think, common. So for one of the drawbacks is that it is not fully open source.
Yeah.
And I definitely, that's a bit of a bummer for sure, especially considering the community has been very much driven by open source. But
yeah. Of what? So on the podcast that I was listening to, they kind of went into that, and the thing with open source within the 3D printing community, it means that because everything is open, more companies can open up, so the technology can move even faster. The community can build up the technology, and literally the entire ecosystem just gets better and better and better. And what happens annoyingly with open source is that it is with I'm giving you this information out to the world, all these companies for free, with the mindset that it is then used and adapted and improved. It's no longer all these smaller companies need to do research and development to then get back up to the level that the big companies are at. They already have that, and they can just improve with their creativity and their engineering, which is a really, truly beautiful idea. It's really fantastic. It like from the engineering place in my heart, it really warms me. But what they said was happening, and Joseph Prussia said this as well. There was many companies all around the world who were taking open source and not changing a thing, and they were kind of bastardizing the wholesomeness and the sincerity of open source, and they weren't changing anything, which is technically allowed. It's not like a copyright violation as far as I know. But
poor form.
Apparently, really poor form, not changing anything, not even like not growing, just literally pulling revenue away from the company that has put in all of the R&D, which isn't great. And Bamboo saw this, and they trademarked quite a lot of things, which was, as far as I know, perfectly standard for a company that size. And so it stinks it's not open source, but at the same time, I get it. There's always like 3D printing is not that old of a style of manufacturing as a world of making, like compared to metalworking and woodworking and automotive engineering. And so we are still in like this weird, murky legal area, and it's an ebb and flow. And we're just in an ebb right now, and it'll flow. Don't worry, things will change. There will be another company in 5 years that just turns the entire world on its table, and it'll just
turns the world on its table, does it?
What's the phrase? I don't know.
Hate it when that world gets turned up on its table.
I know, I hate that. On the turntables. And so something will change. The fact that this isn't open source right now doesn't mean it's not going to be in the future. And it doesn't mean that it won't, the maker world won't reverse engineer the stuff that Bamboo's done, you know? Totally. Famously, a lot of us are hacked, and we will do that. So yeah, so I don't see it as a a downside as much as Twitter seems to scream and shout that it is. But yeah, but
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll
always
see.
a trade-off, right? I mean, apps like the idea of Apple products
Mm.
being closed and harder, right? So it's, do you want control over the final product or do you want to build with the world? I think the main thing is just because this has very much been built by the open source hackery
Mhm.
makery community, that
There's a little bit of resentment, which I get.
there
I
certainly is
understand.
resentment. But and
Yeah.
yet what you see though, like I think ultimately the best product wins. And so
Yeah.
when we're seeing these things, people can get as mad as they want, but if the product is better and better and better, eventually that will get quiet and that
Yeah.
printer will win. And the
Yeah.
same, that's kind of what we think about when we write our books and film our courses too, is if it's truly the best and gets better and better and better over time, then eventually that will win. And everything else, while there's a lot of things outside of that that matter, it's kind of less important.
Yeah. And it kind of a zoomed out, all the copyrights that people were kind of talking about were all about the technology of the printer. But I'm not so concerned about that actually. The the part that isn't open source that really is aside the question, which I think contributes to the success of Bamboo, is the ecosystem. The slicer is very, very easy to use. Of course it is. It's from Prusa, and they already made a stellar slicer. Maker World was incredibly easy to go from the file to the print incredibly quickly, just like Printables. But they switched it up, and it's fresh, the fresh printer hub on the market, and so there's a lot of good energy on there. There's a lot of really good models on there. Fantastic, lovely. They made the app that goes really, really well with it. I don't know if Prusa has an app. I actually haven't looked into that. Um, but the actual ecosystem is really, really lovely. And even if the printer was 10% more terrible, and it still had the trademark, I think it would. I think Bamboo Labs would still succeed because their ecosystem is fantastic. What do you think about that, Josh?
I was a little distracted because I was still looking for ghosts.
Ugh,
So I
ugh.
think, yeah, it's
I'm never
great. It's
going to bring up
wonderful.
any good points ever again,
It's
ever.
grand. Yeah, yeah. I got lost in the world of looking up ghosts. So
Um,
yes, wonderful, Jake. Great point. You're so
Thank you
smart.
very much. Good.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah,
question.
yeah.
But yeah, all in all, to wrap it up, I will still keep and I will still use my Prusa MK4. I still do love that machine. It holds a special place in my
It's
heart.
amazing. It's an amazing
Prusa.
machine.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it
absolutely.
prints so reliably,
It is.
so
It's a
reliably.
workhorse. I have seen so many people where they say when you buy an MK4, it comes with a box full of spare parts. And as far as I know, nobody that I've seen on Reddit has ever used a single one of those spare parts. I never have. It's in a special box somewhere in my storage, and I've never, ever,
Because it
ever
just
had
works.
to use or trade that part. It's a lovely machine, and I
Oh yeah,
think
that's.
this.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and the bamboo's lovely as well. I think I'll have a ton of fun for it. I have the one of the problems with 3D printers is that when you are printing two different parts that need to go together, because they're literally made from two different qualities of printers, very, very unlikely they will fit together perfectly. Even if you put in tolerance and try and account for that, there's still going to be some changes here and there. So if you need to make two parts that fit together, you usually make them on the same printer. These two machines print at such high accuracy and such high quality. I haven't done it yet. I am damn near sure that these two parts are complete, or the parts from these two printers are completely compatible. They're still lovely machines. I'm just going to be experimenting this one, and I'm really, really excited. I
It's
think,
fun. It's fun.
yeah,
It's an ecosystem. I mean, we talk about this with CAD too, is like we
mhm,
being CAD agnostic, right? Because when you get into the workforce or when you want to design something, you need to be able to interact in a lot of these different spaces. I think the same applies with printing.
yeah,
Is there's something to be said for, you know, try more things. Give it if it's out, it's new and it's a tool that's useful. It's maybe it serves a different purpose. Like, yeah, I'm not closed off in that way.
yeah,
I think here
yeah.
too, Ken says there's the Prusa Link app. So Prusa did launch their app
Mm,
for I think doing something similar to the bamboo style
wouldn't
here.
surprise
Have
me.
you tried it yet? No, you haven't
I
tried it
have
yet.
not. No.
And then printed by John said, I ditched my Creality machines after I got a bamboo. I will post a
Yeah.
picture of my old printer. I did the same. I have my Creality machine. I actually still really like the Ender 3 V3 SE.
Mm,
It's an incredible machine for the price. And
yeah.
it's typically like 169 directly on their website now. So it's a good price. And it's, I mean, if you got a Bamboo with the filament management, the A1 Mini, you're still talking an extra $300.
Yeah.
Bamboo Mini without it is pretty competitively priced. I think it's $199 typically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find I just use my Bamboo Mini. I very
Yeah.
rarely, other than taking it to conventions and taking it to events, I take the Ender 3 V3 in that case. I don't use the Creality that much. And it's a little bit sad because I have Creality has a special place in my heart. That's how we started. It was super exciting that they had that original Ender 3 at an accessible price point. I thought the build was a ton of fun. I just loved everyththing about that being our intro to 3D printing. And I'm a
It
little
was
bit
difficult, and it was
was.
trial by fire. And we
Yeah.
we still to this day, we still like our machines that do all the work for us, and we're really glad that the community or all these printers are becoming more appliance, the microwavability, which I love that word. I love that. But I am so glad that we came into 3D printing at the time when it was still a slog, where it was still tricky and annoying. Because good lord, the amount of work and information that we learned about this technology, the slicer, the material physics, the thermodynamics properties, the electronic side, the manufacturing side, what needs to be replaced, what artifacts in the print, what are affected by this and that. I'm really, really, really glad that we started off on such terrible machines in hindsight.
Well,
and
I mean,
now
at
we
the
get to
time they were
bask.
amazing, but you're right. In hindsight, they're not very good machines, but man, were they awesome at the time. And they were competing with the machines. I mean, we still talk about the perception of how much a machine costs versus the reality. And for those of you in the community, right? So for those of you in the community, no problem. Like the what am I trying to say here? So you understand that the printers are about like $200. But for people outside of this community, they think it's like $2,000,
Yeah, they really do.
$20,000.
That's
So
not a lie. We go to these events, we ask every single parent, how much do you think this machine is? A lot of them will bawl around 1,000, if not more, for like an Ender 3 V3. It's where it's not tremendously expensive. Yeah, it is still shocking. And this like the first machines, ironically, the first machines that Josh and I ever 3D printed on were Stratasys machines. $100,000 plus 3D printers, the size of a fridge that could do dissolvable bio support material, ABS, fully enclosed, and they were terrible machines. They were awful. It was so bad. But we literally went from huge, expensive fridge printers, and then to a terrible but cute monoprice V2 Select Mini, which had a build plate smaller than this notepad. And then the Ender 3 that we played around with during lockdown and the pandemic, which kept me sane, kept me absolutely, completely sane. And then kind of slowly kind of leapfrogging. And to be honest, I know there's some 3D printers out there which are so much more incredibly capable, and they can print hotter, which means they can work with more exotic materials, and they can do this and that. And I don't think I'll ever really need that. I've played around with a 3D printer that can print Kevlar, and I'm like, that's awesome. That's really awesome. I'll never need Kevlar ever. I've played around with huge industrial carbon fiber 3D printers at my university.
Whoops.
I'm like, I don't need any of that. And I'm like, these machines right here that can print pretty standard materials now that are really, really hard, really strong, really flexible, or PLA. That's all I need. And I'm sure in 5 years, there's going to be a new technology that is simplified and become easy to use, like an AMS system. And that just becomes the new standard on new toys. That, oh, that's awesome. I really do need that. I should have gotten that. The reason that I resisted these printers that had the AMS on it is because I don't really do multicolor prints. I just like to assemble them and glue it together because that's kind of fun. The convenience factor of this is something that I didn't even realize that I would enjoy. The fact that I just need to leave 4 of my most common colors in there, and then I just click this one and print it. That is way better of a marketing sell for me than, oh yeah, I can print this part. It's got a red that and blue eyes and a brown hair. I don't care about that. I don't care about that at
You say that
all.
now. You say that
It's the
now.
convenience factor.
Yeah, convenience is
Also,
amazing.
as a side little note, my sisters for Christmas sent me these little figurines on Etsy, and she said, "Are these 3D printed?" And they were. There's a really famous Christmas time English TV show. It was filming of a theater, I think. I'm completely forgetting. I think it's called The Snowman. I think it was filmed like in the early 90s. But it's essentially just like little boy in his pajamas and he flies off with a snowman who's wearing a scarf. And it's very pretty. And there's all this angelic choral singing. And it's beautiful. And it's lovely. And it's wholesome. And she found somebody had made all these models of the snowman, who's like this really orbish, flowing kind of shape. And massive orange nose, obviously. And she was like, "Oh, is this 3D printed?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is." 10 figurines was $80 or 180. It was either 80 or 180. I can't remember. But I'm like, good lord. The reason it was so expensive is because it had an orange nose. That was it. And I'm like, oh, the machine that makes that is a good deal more expensive than just a single color. That's why. That's it. And I'm like, I could make that this weekend. I'm like, I'm very so if you are thinking about getting a new printer, I if you have the dough to spend, I do recommend the P1S with the AMS system. I got it for $800 all in all with taxes and everything included with the Black Friday sale. It's wonderful. Josh has the A1 Mini, which is the cheapest one with the AMS system, and he absolutely loves it.
I love it.
The only difference is seriously is this one's enclosed, which is only beneficial for higher melting temperature materials, which I don't use. It's a larger build plate, which is person to person. I sometimes print huge things. Josh most of the time prints small scale stuff, which is fine. I genuinely don't see any different or any need to pick of their lineup anything different than these two. Like the A1 is about, I think it's about the size of like a standard 3D printer, like 250, 250, 250. Cool, awesome. It's not enclosed, but that's fine. The P1P is this but without the enclosure. So why would you get that instead of the A1? Save yourself a couple $100. And then the carbon is unnecessary upgrades for what you get. So if you're thinking about getting a bamboo, either an A1 Mini or a P1S, to be honest, that's really all you need. But yeah, if any of you guys do have bamboos, please let us know. What do you like? What should I print on it? I am an accessory fiend. Like the thing that gets me really excited, and I know this really excites Josh as well, is as soon as we have a new toy, the first thing that we do is go on Thingiverse, Printables, Now Maker World, and look up accessories to print for it every single time. And that's what gets me giddy is like 3D printing stuff for it.
I believe there's a philosophy, there's a philosophical thought behind it as well, and that is, I don't feel like I own things unless I modify them in some way.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't take as much ownership over the thing. So adding that little touch of customization, I feel just makes it better.
Yeah.
More interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a ton of things to print for the bamboo. Please tell me your favorites and I will definitely make them. I'm just printer happy right now. I just want to make a bunch of stuff.
You're printer drunk is what you are.
I'm a little printer drunk.
Printer drunk.
I made a little bench scraper. I already have a scraper. I don't need this. But it was so much fun to make with the multiple material. What I haven't made yet is a little poop trough, which if you don't know what I'm talking about is very, very disgusting.
Yeah.
It's literally just been falling to the ground behind my cabinet. So I just need to wait for my Roomba to just clean it up in a little bit. It's a nightmare to get to. So I need to make a little poop tray, but I don't want to make that gigantic slide. because I feel like that takes like a full kilogram of material to make that. But I haven't really looked into it. So if you guys have any solutions that I should check out, definitely let me know. God, that's so much fun. All right, Josh, we got 10 minutes. What are we doing?
I was poking around Fusion. They have announced a new feature called auto constrain, and I cannot for the life of me find it. I was poking
Probably not
around.
going to be rolled out until
It may not be rolled out yet. I
later.
wonder if it's on your version of it, though. I'm on the education license, whereas you are on the commercial license.
Where do you know where it is?
I don't know. I was looking into it.
I
I wanted to
imagine sketches.
I'm in the sketch
Alright.
functionality here, so I know they
Play
announced it.
around
I
it.
don't know who it's rolled out to. I don't know if it's in
It's
here
usually
and
they
I'm just
announce
not
it and then the
seeing it.
next month they roll into it.
Oh,
So
you
it
know what? I
would.
may not have. Oh, I have to update to the newest version of Fusion. Let's try that.
All right.
Let's give that a roll.
I did update last night, so I'm just gonna
See if it's there.
double check. This may be total wet blanket. I'm sure I'm not gonna make. I'm sure nothing is gonna happen. Let's make a sketch.
And as you're poking around and looking, just a reminder to everybody in the chat: this week's challenge is to use the form tools and make a spooky ghost. So the challenge is going to be learning to use those tools. And I'll admit, I haven't used them.
No, no,
I
no.
maybe have pushed and pulled a form tool like twice ever. So use those form tools, or if you are on Tinkercad, as Dan is, then make a spooky ghost in whatever way you plan to make a spooky ghost, and let us know how you do it. Is
I
it
have. I.
is there
It's
is it
not
there?
in the constraints tool.
Okay. So
If I just,
maybe yeah.
it may not be out yet.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I'm just gonna highlight two circles which are near each other. Repeat sentence. Is it near? Selection near. Extrude, extrude. Normal construction. Cone set. And it's you can do that with a right click. I don't know if you were ever able to do that in the past, but that's a little interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Toggle
maybe it's a
curve.
nothing burger right now. I'll have to what the heck is this?
Oh, it's
Oh,
just curvature display.
what is curvature. I was like, this got fun quickly.
That's that's a funky one. um, yeah, nothing just yet. But we'll see. Apparently, we of what we were told by some of the Fusion execs, they said in your next book you need to cover the configure menu. They go, we're rolling out some really exciting new features on there, and it's going to be much easier to use and much more powerful, which we always love to hear. So that's potentially going to be coming down the way. Josh, have you posted the spooky ghost on Discord?
I did. I posted a
did?
picture of a ghost. It's on there in the challenges section. Yeah. Yeah.
If you haven't played around with the form tools in the past, it is not difficult, but it's not easy. Does that make sense?
I think
It's
it
not
does.
difficult to
It's
use.
kinda medium.
You
It's
click
not
and
hot, but
drag
it's
onto
not cold.
points.
It's warm.
Yeah, this is a lukewarm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's all I got for today. I've been rambling for too
Great.
long about bamboos.
Well, that's
Awesome.
it. That's the pod. This has been the CADclass podcast. Lovely to see you again. All again. Usually I mess up the beginning, not the end. I've learned to talk
I
by the
know.
end of this
Mixing
pod.
it up.
This has been the CADclass podcast. Once again, I'm Josh,
I'm Jake.
and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Later, guys.